Matty Holman. Thank you, Matt. I know you love touching those buttons, don't you? Thank you. Welcome to the Every Man Can Mental Strength Podcast, the first one recorded during 2024. Hello, Matty H. Hello, Matt S. How are you?
I was going first.
Happy New Year, Matt.
Happy New Year.
Holman.
Have we done all that yet?
Happy New Year, dudes.
Too late for that.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, good.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Look at this environment.
Cafe Lilli's
Cafe
in
Lilli
Norton. We've just done a little quick interview with Roberto,
Yeah.
the owner.
Listen to that.
Fantastic. What a guy.
Good. What energy.
Energy, inspiration, entrepreneurial.
Welcomeness.
Cares about his staff.
And that's why I think I feel good, because just that welcome was just nice, wasn't it?
It really was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
he's a lovely man.
Good. Nice start.
Did you have a nice Christmas, Matt?
Good, busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. See my boys, that's all I'm bothered about.
Yeah.
So
How's the
all
football going with the lads, all right?
Good, yeah. Oldest one's doing good, he's off on travels, and yeah, youngest one's doing well.
Brilliant.
Doing well.
And how about you, Matt Holman?
Good, man.
Yeah.
Good. New lease of life. Yeah, good.
I can't take all the blame. Tell us a bit more.
Found out, I'll start with the foundation. I mentioned it on one of the podcasts. I'm starting with the MFC Foundation on Monday. So this is my last week off work since being off for a year and a half. So I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can. But since I found out, it's like, new lease of life.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So being down there today, so walking into the football ground, and yeah, it's my thing, isn't it? So yeah, it's really good. Just hopefully help some young people in schools, and just amazing. I'm a bit, yeah.
Back working again.
I know.
What's this about?
I know, yeah. I mean, it's going to, he's going to
Just
get a bit more
different.
grumpy,
Yeah.
a bit more tight. But it actually is going to be quite a change. No, it's going to be quite a shift, though, isn't it? It's something to think about ahead of. It's like, well,
I think just
our
working every
routines
day
are
after being,
different again.
I'll miss the fresh air with the dog, and I know it sounds like, but people will be like, "You're taking a piss."
No, but,
I'm not,
you
like-
have to make time for all that now. That's the thing.
Yeah,
You'd have to
man.
be
good.
look at your
Looking
days.
forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, we're made up for you.
How are you?
We've been following your journey. Well, I'm hoping that I'm brilliant. I had a fantastic Christmas, New Year. Very relaxed, very chilled. It was just a quiet sort of New Year
Good.
as well. And yeah, still in training, still keeping moving and cracking the miles up, ready for this training up for this 55-mile run in March. In fact, I think I'm going to do it. Try and raise some money for
Where's it at?
Every Man Can while we do it. It is going to be from Gisborough to Helmsley on the Hardmoors 55.
Is that on a weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a
Weekend
Saturday,
of what?
23rd, just before Easter. It's for Easter week.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to go and support him, won't we, Matthew?
Right at the end, yeah. Right at the end.
Yeah, I won't be.
Yeah, yeah.
Won't be
Won't be doing that now.
anything
Middle of the
with
night.
you.
Meet you in the pub.
Yeah, if I make it.
Oh, it's a week after I get back from Tenerife. I'll be here.
You can
the old brown
peel me
one.
off the Cleveland Way somewhere when I collapse and call me an ambulance or something like that. Right, so, first interview of 2024, Cafe Lilli's in Norton. We have got... we should do the intro, shouldn't we? Matt's pointing at this light. Aren't you? And
Done no
saying,
intro.
all right, let's get this podcast started for real, shall we?
Hello, this is the Every Man Can podcast. Podcast based on mental strength, how we can use it in our everyday lives. Interviewing local people, using their experience, their wealth of experience through their personal journeys and their own professional journeys, how they use it for themselves, how they use it for other people, and hopefully you can take something from it. We hope you enjoy.
Thank you, lads. Thank you. So, today we're joined by Sarah Beth. Hiya, Sarah.
Hi guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year indeed.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, yeah.
Why?
2024 didn't get off to the bang that I wanted it to, but I've pivoted fast.
Really?
Yes, I'm feeling good today. Yeah.
Pivoting fast.
I tell you what though, Blue Monday yesterday. Oof, anyone else feel it?
No, but I do know that Blue Monday, I tell you what, every time someone says Blue Monday to me, I just think about
New
where
Order.
it originated. Well, yeah, Blue Monday. I just think, come on. Banger. Yeah. And even the Samaritans put a post out to say it was just it was a company called Sky Travel that put out it was like a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
So they said they'd put all these bits and pieces together, blah blah. But when you look at things like
I'm dubious
whichever,
because I was told many moons ago it was when the credit card bills came in. It was actually a little bit later in the year.
Makes
and
sense.
I think it's just a little bit of pivot against the financial institutions, not
Yeah,
to go down the conspiracy route or anything, but
Yeah, as well as.
Yeah, as well as.
Look,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know many people that aren't waiting for payday this time of year, or even worse if you're not.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is hard time.
It is, and it's been pretty grey and bleak, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
So, I should introduce you, Sarah. This is your bio. Sarah Beth launched her current venture, Habit, while working in the social care sector in London. During your time supporting social workers, you developed an initiative to support time-poor practitioners develop a habit of learning as part of their regulatory CPD requirements.
Indeed.
The initiative was highly successful, and following on from this, Sarah was awarded funding from Innovate UK to carry out a case study around the effectiveness of a preventative approach to workplace wellbeing, which we in the Wellbeing Network supported you with.
You did.
Again, this was a huge success, with participants from DWP, Cleveland Police reporting back many positive results from the 4-week programme. Your work was born out of childhood trauma, leading to mental illness and addiction spanning 3 decades. After the medical model failed you, it took the road less travelled and adopted the preventative approach, which supported her recovery. Sarah is now working full-time in a business, delivering IEMT therapy, integral eye movement therapy, training as a belief coding practitioner, and just qualified as a yoga instructor. You're also rolling out initiatives in the community to support disadvantaged groups, and we'll be launching a 2020 programme with the Everyman Can Kick later this year. You can follow Sarah and her Habit Escapades on Instagram. Thank you for that and for the work that you've got. We've got a lot to talk about. Mentioned there, Everyman Can Kick. That is our new venture, which the podcast will be part of. And that is 5 of us who are going to be setting up a community interest company, not for profit. Well, it does make profit, but the profit goes back into doing the social good that we're going to do. So I think we've got all sorts of different ideas, haven't we, for men's health. And you've got something we're going to talk about in a little bit towards the end of the pod called 2020. So, first question, Sarah, which we always kick off with, is what is mental strength to you?
Habits. All things habits. I mean, we are creatures of habit. And this is what I started unpicking. My mental health journey just started as my journey. You know, the medical model failed me. I'd been on every medication you could think of, in and out of counselling and therapy, all traumatised me, just wasn't working. Reached my rock bottom on my 30th birthday and just decided to take the alternative route. So that took a few years, and then I ran away with my tail between my legs to London to hide away from all the judgment and the haters. And then I started to really get feedback from people, and they were saying, you know so much about this, why don't you do a course? Because courses were this big thing. So I put everything into this course. Then the pandemic hit. You come back up north, then your own mental health starts to suffer, and you start to get a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Right.
And it wasn't until my daughter said to me, Mum, you really need to do your own course, that I started doing it all over again. And within literally 4 weeks, I was just back to being a machine again. So, yeah, it's all about habits, everything.
Which doesn't, I mean, one half of me who knows you knows that doesn't come as a massive surprise, so you talk about habits. Just define habits then. It might seem like a simple thing, but what do you mean by when you say habits?
Well, we are constantly making habits and creating all day long. It's neuroplasticity, you might have heard of it. It's basically just a connection between the left and right hemispheres of your brain. And we do this all day long, you know, and the tech companies have capitalised on that. They've, hit us hard with our biochemistry, got it working against us. So we're all addicted to dopamine, and that is why we doom scroll. You know, if we get stressed throughout the day, which we get stressed multiple times because we're coming into contact with multiple old archaic structures that have never been updated, we get stressed. What do? We reach for our phones. It's like a natural inclination just to relieve a little bit of that tension. And we need to start adopting healthier habits. So what I have developed is something that helps to develop an internal structure inside of us, because we can't change the fact life is stressful, but we can change our approach to it.
Right.
And it's connecting something that connects every human on the planet, our needs. We've all got the same basic needs, and we all create habits through the same 4-stage process. So that's what the 2020 is.
Fantastic.
It's really interesting because you say about the phone scrolling and stuff, and I get that, and I've had a long time off work for various reasons, and then you do find that it's hard not to sometimes, like, because And I found myself a period of last year, I'd be out walking, which I do a lot, and I'd be like, but I'd be checking my phone, and I'd think, what are you doing? Like, and I think it's a really interesting concept that I've adopted for myself as well, where I am very conscious of that now. So I have a lot of like downtime away from stuff and away from my phone and everything. And yeah, it's a really interesting thing, because you look at kids now, kids are just constant, aren't they? So yeah, it's getting your kids to break them habits as well, I think.
It is. And it's understanding, you know, what is health, because we're not taught in school. Education is another system that was created hundreds of years ago as a feeder system in the Industrial Revolution, and not a lot has changed, even though there's people working tirelessly to try and shift it. It's a slow process. So we're still working with what we knew back then in a lot of instances, and we're just working with 2 types of intelligence, and the other 7 are getting completely left behind. That's why so many people leave and feel like they're stupid or inadequate in some way, and that is not the case. So
One of the things you mentioned there was about the medical model that didn't work for you.
Yeah.
Basically, my experience is a little bit different to that. In fact, it sort of kicked my awareness of, once I engaged with it, antidepressants didn't help. Actually, I felt like it made me more anxious personally.
Yeah.
But the therapy itself actually really opened me up. Now, it helped because I had a bereavement. A very close friend of mine died in a car accident, and that was really helpful to start to unpick it. What it did do is kick off a journey, which did still end up with me not really following the medical model, but finding my own alternatives. And the language I always use is finding what works for you.
Completely.
So when you say, can you share a little bit more about your experience? Because I was chatting to a psychologist the other day, a lecturer, and we were talking about how good or not therapy is, how effective it is, and so on, the nice guidelines and all that. And basically, I was saying I'd heard it about 15% efficacy, and she said, I think it's about 50-50. And I was like, well, surely it depends on how you measure it then. So actually, what questions to ask people? Usually every session you'll fill in a form, and then at the end of the 6 sessions, 8 sessions, 10 sessions, you'll hopefully see a progress in terms of mood, in terms of the measures of mood. But then you leave the therapy room, then what happens? So by your definition of it didn't work for me, how would you describe it?
It's the length of time you've got to wait. I think lead-in times at the moment is around 26 weeks on average. When you need to talk then and then, there and then. I understand that it definitely is necessary for a lot of people, and I think for men more so, because they don't have the same support networks that women do.
Right.
We always have someone at the end of the phone that we can pick up who'll be there for us most of the time. But I think with men it's not as prevalent, and I'm noticing more and more men's groups popping up, which is amazing, but they just don't have that same network, unfortunately.
Why did you look at me then, Rich?
Well, I was just thinking, like, in terms of support, like, I've been definitely at a point in my life where I didn't have that, and didn't even feel I could have that conversation, or knew even how to use the words to do it, to a point where I've got pals around me, 2 of them sat here, and others in my life who I can reach out to whenever I need to, and on and the good and the bad, so we share all the laughs as well. But it's when you said that, so actually, what your primary concern is the amount of time it takes to get, or is it the nature of the support as well?
For me, mental health is so nuanced. Mental health is an amalgamation of every single experience that you've ever had in your life. We're all seeing through 2 eyes that have a completely unique perspective of life. You cannot possibly expect another person to come in, no matter how many qualifications that they have, and understand where you're coming from. So what I want to do is help people adopt that internal resilience, the internal structure, that because we don't come and we don't get a manual with the meat suit we're born into. There's no handbook with parenting, and then you take all of these different structures that we have to come into contact with each and every day into consideration, and you end up with a mental blueprint in that first 7 to 10 years of your life, when you're in that kinesthetic brainwave mode where you're just picking up everything around you, and you can end up with a lot of traumatic cellular responses in your body, because the body holds the score, and if you're not letting go of that, if you're holding on to these belief structures that are holding you back, it's going to limit you in life. Yeah. But you can change, you can make a change at any point in your life with the right kind of education, the right kind of support and understanding that you can be the change, you can do it yourself, and it's actually a lot more simple than you realise.
Thank you. Talk us through your, I think you mentioned 4 stages of habit change.
Yeah.
So do you want to just summarise, what are those 4 stages?
Well, when we create neuroplasticity, we go through the cue, routine, reward cycle.
Okay.
So this is what happens with our mobile phones. So the cue is the notification.
Okay.
So this is why
Ding. Matt, will you turn your phone off, please? Thank you. I'm trying to have a conversation here. Next. Sorry. Let's get back to it.
So you get your cue. I'm loving this.
Get your cue. Vibration
your
in
cue.
your pocket. Or
And so anyone who's got their notifications on their phone still, get them off. Just get
Yes.
them off, and then you don't have that temptation coming through.
Yep.
The routine is obviously go on the app. It's usually Instagram for me because I've still got my notifications on because that's my main platform that I'm pushing everything through. And then the reward is your brain sends you a little shot of dopamine. Now, for those of you who don't know about dopamine, it's had a lot of press recently. It's the thing that makes us feel pleasure. It's a very powerful neurotransmitter, but it's also highly motivational. We do need a little bit of it in our bodies, but too much can really overstimulate us. And it can be the root cause of many addictive patterns of behaviour. So its main goal is to seek more dopamine, because pleasure's fleeting, it arrives and then it dissipates really quickly, and then the next thing you know, you're craving more, which is where the doom scrolling comes from. You search for more, you scroll through, all of a sudden you're dropping into lower levels, because there's 4 things that'll happen when you're on social media. You'll either compare, you'll complain, you'll criticise, or you'll take things personally, and we all do it. So those 4 stages are going through the cue, routine, reward cycle, but then repeating it over and over again. And with enough repetition, it becomes an automatic process. It gets stored in the right brain, your subconscious. And before you know it, you're doing it while you're walking your dog.
Well, what's interesting about that is, so what I was finding last year was when I was doing that, and a lot of it stemmed from boredom. Like it's been really hard for me to keep any sort of like routine. In my pit of my stomach, you begin to feel like fed up and a bit sick and a bit. And I know, Rich, you've spoke about this before. I used to be really into like the conspiracy side of stuff, but when you go down that rabbit hole, it actually depresses you.
It does.
So I say to Richie now, anything that annoys me now, and I've got loads of stuff that does, but anything that I know is a trigger for me where I'm going to get critical, annoyed, or judgmental, I stay away from now.
Yeah.
So I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't need to watch it every day.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you say about that scrolling, because I never really shared that with anyone before. I was beginning to like, it's a downer.
It
because
is.
I compare it to drug addicts. So like, you have your high, you have your crack, then you have to take a downer like a diazepam.
Yep.
So drug addicts will have uppers and downers.
Yep.
And that's what I found that scrolling social media was doing for me, was like, it's that you're getting that crack.
Yep.
And then you're down. And then I was like, fuck. And
Yep.
actually, when you put your phone down from doing that, you're tired.
Yeah, you really are.
so that's the first stage you're talking about.
No, that's the whole process.
That's the process.
So
So that's actually the problem.
for people that understand the learning process, if anyone's listening to this in the work in education, it's the 4 stages of learning as well. It's going from unconscious incompetence, just you don't know what you don't know. Unless you're opening up your mind to new
Yes.
information, you just don't
That's
know
the
what you don't know.
autopilot thing.
Yeah,
basically.
that's when we're on
my phone
autopilot.
pings, I do it. That's what everyone does.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about it. Why?
Yeah.
It's not a problem for me.
Yeah,
Get off your phone. I was talking to you.
yeah,
Kind of
I know,
thing. No,
I
I'm
know.
fine. I'm on my phone here. You carry on talking. I'm listening.
yeah.
That's the problem, right? So
Yeah.
that person's addicted.
We get so triggered as well by people doing it, but biochemistry is powerful. You know, every emotion we feel has a correlating biochemical response, and the 2 main culprits throughout the day are cortisol and dopamine. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Every single time we get triggered by anything, and we've all got completely unique triggers, you have got cortisol releasing in your body. And that naturally spikes at 8 in the morning anyway. So anyone listening to this, if you get anxiety pangs in the morning and you drink tea or coffee, they both contain caffeine. That will spike your cortisol. So what I tell people to do is to try and get yourself into a routine where you're replenishing the water that you lose as you sleep, because we lose up to a litre. Drink some water. That'll make you less reliant on the caffeine, because it'll wake up your body and your brain. And if you can stave off until about 9 o'clock to have your first cuppa, it's going to reduce the morning anxiety pangs and really help you to kind of get over that, especially if you've got to take kids to school or beat rush hour traffic. It can just be an absolute... I'm not allowed to swear, am I?
Oh, I think we do. I think we do.
Mindfuck.
Pretty
Yes,
sure.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one. Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Matt.
You're allowed.
So unconscious.
I'd be a lady for today.
What is it? Unconscious. Stage 1. It's unconscious.
Unconscious incompetence is stage 1.
Unconscious incompetence.
Then we get awareness of something, and all
Okay.
of a sudden you're in conscious incompetence.
Right.
Consciously incompetence.
This
So
isn't
you're
serving
aware.
me. This isn't serving
Yeah.
me anymore. What the
Yeah,
hell?
this is where your trigger lies.
Right.
Now, this is the point where people can either choose to learn more and accept I'm doing something wrong, or they can really hold on to that part of them because it's part of their identity. And you'll know this because you've done the IEMT training. And it's really difficult because if you've aligned yourself with something that you think is you, your identity, when someone challenges that, it's almost like they're challenging your sense of self.
That's it.
So
That's what
it's
you
so understandable that people do get triggered, but it's really helping people to understand the difference between what is my identity, which is your personality, which is a thing that society is trying to tell you who you are and who to be, so they can fit you into a box so you're more easily marketable to. And then what is character? Because actually character is the thing that we've lost because the breakdown of the family unit, we've forgotten what good moral values are and what good character values are. And it's really difficult to create good, strong values when you're stressed all day long and you've got cortisol running through your body.
Just before we go any further, before we lose, can I just go back to the medical side of it, where you said the medical thing never... I was going to... It was fascinating, so I didn't want to interrupt. Are we in, love? It's interesting because I've bored people with this before, but my journey was like, and I've told my story 11 times now to medical professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors, doctors, and no one ever said to me, what can we do for you? Like, what is it you need? It was always like, look, there's this therapy, there's that therapy, there's this medication, there's that. And I used to sit there and just shut my eyes and think, just ask me what I want.
Yeah.
Like, and the natural answer is I just want to be better. I just want to forget about this. But I had all these professionals who I'm spending hours of my time with, and some of them were really positive, amazing people, but not one of them said, what is it that you want? What is it you want to do that we maybe are not suggesting, we're not offering? You know, it's like you touched on it there. You kind of get led down a path, and you get down that path and you think, I don't want to be here. Like,
you're so right.
You feel like you're getting dragged.
Yep.
And you're like, I feel like I have to do this because these are telling me to do this, when really I was just wanting to say to them, well, is it like I want to go on a walk? Like I do it, but you're not helping.
Yeah.
You're ill.
Yeah.
You've got PTSD.
Yeah.
You've tried this, that's not worked. You need to try this. Not what do you want? And I find that a really fascinating angle. Well, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to go back to that before.
No, because I tend to go off on a tangent anyway, so I'm glad you brought me back to it, because it's really important for anyone listening to this who is in the medical model and feeling like it's failing them. You've got to remember your body is your best teacher. And like you said there, you were saying, you had the answers. I'm going to go for a walk. Nature's the best healer. We are living in environments that are full of positive ions, positive energy, like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, unnatural light, unnatural man-made fibres, no fresh air. Or don't even get me started on volatile organic compounds in cleaning products and all that kind of stuff. But when you get outside, nature is full of negative ions. And it naturally grounds us. If you can get, I know it's the wrong time of year to be suggesting this, but if you can get your feet off, get it in seawater or on the ground, if you've got a garden, I unfortunately don't at the moment, every single part of your body is connected to your feet. It will naturally just ground your body. It will drain all of that positive energy out if you can do it for at least 20 seconds, and it will naturally rebalance your endocrine system and your nervous system, and it will make you feel so much better.
Not all these things, and I don't need things to have a scientific basis.
No.
But that particular one, grounding, has a good scientific basis. It's fantastic.
Completely.
Let's hear more from you. And just we're just going to take a quick break. We'll come back in just 30 seconds for a quick message from our support.
We're just having a quick breather from the podcast. Just to let you know, you can find Every Man Can on all your normal social media platforms. You can also get this podcast and all of our other episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. All we ask, and this is the only thing we will ever ask of anybody, is that you like, share and follow everything that we do, because all we do this for is to help and inspire other people.
Thank you for that. That's going to be one of these conversations which can go in all sorts of directions, can't it? And it's... But I want to come back to the habit, the 4 stages of the habit. So let's keep reminding it. So the first stage was unconscious.
Unconscious incompetence.
Unconscious incompetence.
Don't know what you don't know.
Don't know what you don't know. Second.
Conscious incompetence.
Conscious incompetence. You're aware of it.
Yeah.
And this is
something new for
there's a gap between there I want to address quickly. So in terms of people going, it's like, for me, this is about looking in the mirror. This is like that sort of like looking at yourself and being unhappy with what you see, hear, feel, and going, actually, and at some point during there, something happens which goes, this is my behaviour, I'm guessing we haven't got to the point yet where they realise this is me actually choosing to do this. What's the third stage?
Conscious competence. This is where you make the decision to say, I'm going to learn something. Now this is the really challenging point, because this is where you get stuck on your dieting, burning yourself out, doing like mad gym workouts that realistically you just don't need to be doing, and you end up doing more harm than good. Supplements, all different kinds of things, and I've tried everything, trust me, on this journey. But yeah, this is the stage that you can get stuck in for a long time, because often it's information overload out there at the minute.
Okay.
So you often don't know who to believe, where to begin, or what you really need to be focusing on. And again, this is where you've got to come back to listening to your body, listening to your gut. It's the best teacher.
Conscious incompetence.
So conscious incompetence is where you learn something for the first time. Yep. So often people will listen to something, they'll find out, it'll trigger them, and they'll just go, nah, I'm going back into my box. I don't agree with you. And this is where conflict can often happen. Mm-hmm. This is where you'll get like the Dunning-Kruger effect. People who think that they know it all, talking with someone who actually does have a decent amount of knowledge in a subject, and they'll argue to the blue in the face because it's triggering them, and they don't want to let go of that identity.
Used to be me.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. Absolutely. You know, it's holding your hands up and saying, yeah, I'm probably wrong here. It's one of the most difficult things to do as a human. It's really, really hard.
But how good does it feel when you do it, and the result is help and understanding and acceptance comes your way?
It
you
feels,
go, fuck, I wish I'd done this sooner.
But also with that, don't you think when you see someone doing that, and how much respect you give them, and how much, like, do you know what, how genuine is that person there to see them do that? But also on the other side of doing it yourself, it just gives you so much transparency and authenticity.
I've had a different reaction with that.
You have? Go on.
Yeah, because I'm very good at admitting when I'm wrong, and around the wrong people, you won't get a supportive reaction. I've realised.
Right.
So is that not a good way of measuring good people around you?
Totally.
So whether they're toxic or not.
Totally. That's
ultimately you should be getting. So you do something like that, you should be getting that support, shouldn't you? It's actually your one indicator. And I'm guessing that comes from another angle of someone who is perhaps insecure or recognize. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that then the habit that you're talking about? Because going back, I don't know, 10 years, whatever, I was probably someone total opposite where I am now, of not putting my hands up and going, I was wrong. I thought I knew it all. Or is that a habit I've changed? You don't know.
Everything's a habit, really. You've got varying degrees. You know, something that you do repetitively over and over again is a habit, but you've got things that are classed as addictions, and then things that are classed more as habits. Right. And it's just the distinction there is the level of consciousness that you're putting into creating them. That's all.
Which sort of coincides of my journey of, like, you know, wanting to be better, and as everything you're saying here is just so, like, relative to what I've done on my journey as well, with just wanting to learn new things, and hopefully all positive and good and benefit from a health point of view. So,
and this is why, sorry Richard, this is why education is so important, because it is the crux of everything, because we have a huge block to learning because of the education system that we are all created by, in a way. You know, it pitches us against each other, and the competitive mind, I posted about it recently, it's akin to a fixed mindset. We end up competing for energy off each other, because essentially everything in the observable universe, not to go all quantum on you or anything, but it's all energy. And everything, including our emotions, our energy, when we dip, we end up in these control dramas with other people, and we compete against each other people. The only way we shift out of that is stepping into the more creative mindset, the growth mindset, and we have to learn to do that. We have to, because the mind is like a funnel. So as soon as you open it to new learning and new information, that's when you start to shift.
And that's that school teaching. You're going to be better than this person here if you get a better mark than them, rather than coming outside the box and being creative with it.
But on the flip side, when you do open your mind and you start to learn, that's where you lose a lot of people in your life.
You do. You're so right. I went down the conspiracy rabbit holes years ago. People used to call me Secret Sarah because I got into The Secret back in 2008 before anyone knew what the law of attraction was. And then I watched Zeitgeist, and I went down the whole Anunnaki route, and it got dark. It got dark for a long time, but it stopped me from watching media, disengaged completely. But I lost a lot of people in my life. I did go a little bit mad, probably more mad than when I was actually mad. And you come out the other side. And what I've realised now about that whole, like, David Icke alien conspiracy movement Not to take away from anyone who buys into that, but when we don't have all of the answers, our right brain tends to make up some very elaborate stories. And for me, now coming full circle with that particular conspiracy theory, I feel like the Anunnaki and the reptilian race is a representation of our reptilian brain, the amygdala, because that is the thing that is running the show. That's the thing that triggers the fear and the cortisol response. It's linked to our limbic system. And that is just the story. It is. It's the
enemy of connection, isn't it? Do you know there was a bit of research that Kat O'Neill at Teesside Uni shared with me this morning, which was about individualism. And actually, the research suggested that the UK is the most individualistic society in the world, more than North America, than the USA. And I was kind of a bit flawed by that. I was like, because that's a problem. That is a problem, isn't it? In terms of the opposite, that would be collectivism. So, like in terms of like thinking as a unit, thinking as a group, as a whole population, we think very individually. So, how do you think that interacts with our consciousness, our sort of unconscious? And
I'm not a fan of diversity. I think it's very important to celebrate each other's differences, but in the way where you can celebrate that every person has their own genius that they can tap into, and supporting them to tap into that genius. However, we have to remember divide and conquer is the first rule of war.
It certainly is.
And the more that we focus on our differences, the more we'll see each other as separate. Yes. And unless you're an enlightened being, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any on the planet yet, then you're just going to see each other as separate. And I think I'm more about focusing on what connects us all, because I don't think that working as a collective is necessary. The Chinese way is necessarily the right way, but I don't think individualism is. I think somewhere in the middle is right.
Somewhere in the middle.
So
a balance, like all things, like all good things.
Everything requires balance.
What's stage 4 then?
Stage 4 is automation. Stage 4 is like, well, you don't think about walking, do you? That is one of the most supportive habits that you create if you are lucky enough to be able to have an able body and you can walk.
Matt, I think Matt Holman, Matt H, does think about walking.
Are you a hiker, Matt?
Wait, like a certain Manchester band.
What are we talking
when he walks in the room.
You've lost me.
Matt H has got a bit of a swagger about him.
I just
he likes his jackets.
Are you carrying
jackets. No.
I just walk.
It's more of a Conor McGregor thing.
Conor McGregor. Yeah.
It's not that.
Fluffy hands.
Do not compare me.
Come on, give us a catwalk now. I'm going to have to see this in action.
Do not compare me to him.
You ever seen Liam Gallagher walk?
Oh, no.
Here we go.
But I'll be compared to him though.
Got in the mood.
Which one, Matt? Liam or Noel?
Yeah.
From a creative point of view, no.
Oh, we can be friends, you and I. If you'd said Liam, we would have.
For the way he goes on, I really like him.
No, that's another reason not to like him.
I really have always been interested in like Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, Liam Gallagher, Jim Morrison. Sort of, no, not alphas so much, just that.
Oh, do you not think they are?
Just that genius sort of rebel.
Zeta.
Bit of a rebel sort of. That's why I like listening to Roy Keane now, because he just doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't, does he?
And
prawn sandwich brigade.
It's not about alpha males, because I don't do alpha males, but
no.
I don't know. There's something about people who are like in that position who just do how they want to do it. But
authentically,
we've gone off pasty, but for creativity, it's not.
Good. Yeah.
Withdraw.
Walking.
So how do you get in your life?
Yeah.
As a reflection, like obviously we read out your bio at the start. So, how do those 4 stages relate to the journey you went on? Can you think of it in that way, in terms of making some changes?
Yeah, I can now.
Deliberate changes. I mean, habits. So what was really saying is that habits can be conscious or unconscious. Yeah. They can be intended or accidental.
Yeah.
They can be tied to dopamine release because it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Consciously or not.
Yeah.
So good habits, bad habits. So your life, your reflection of
that. I became an avid reader, and I just read everything that I could get my hands on to support me on my journey. And I got to a point where I realised that the people I was associating myself with were holding me back because of their habits. So I made a conscious choice to move out of Darlington, where I was. I stopped drinking. I then realised that still wasn't enough, and there was still a lot of judgment, and I eventually just upped sticks and went to London. And the shift then was monumental, because it was it was just like a complete phoenix rising out of the ashes moment. It was like I burnt my old life to the ground, and all of a sudden I had this blank slate that I could create all these new habits. And I did. I just threw myself into it. And in a very short period of time, I was practically vegan, totally teetotal, and just living this really... I was walking 2 miles to work every day from Clapham to Fulham, and just really embracing everything that you need to be a healthy human.
Did you find yourself going to extremes and then withdrawing back to find the right balance, go to another extreme? That's more personality, right? Like to a degree, or is that something that people need to be aware of?
Potentially, yeah. Because I grew up with a bipolar parent, I've definitely had bipolar tendencies.
Right. Okay.
And I do tend to throw myself... I'm a bit of a go hard or go home kind of girl, and I've realised that in itself is a problem. So I'm very, as much as I said to you at the beginning before we started recording, I'm looking to try and do sober 2024. I'm also not that precious about it, and if I do slip up at some point, it is what it is. You know, it's everywhere. Alcohol, it's part of our culture. So if I do have a drink at some point this year, fuck it.
Just on about drinking, I think dry January is quite dangerous.
It is 100%.
Because
Worst
I think
time.
people... Well,
no, it's good. Go on.
I probably drink. I do drink too much, but it's not like I drink and get mullered. I just like it's a couple of beers and another couple of beers and then... But if you just stop altogether, your body's going to go into some sort of, shock. So when... And I'm not saying... It's different for alcoholics, and I know people are prescribed alcohol now.
Yes.
When you're coming off alcohol. And custody sergeants would always say to me the most dangerous people they had in custody for any length of time was alcoholics, because of the withdrawal. And I think if you are an habitual bottle of wine on a night, then you skip a couple of days and you have another bottle of wine, and you're not alcohol. I always say you're dependent.
Yes.
And a lot of us are, like I say, because of culture. And I think to just kick it for 28 days, and all anyone does in February then is go back on it again.
Yeah.
And I think I don't like dry January. I don't like the way people go on about it, and I just think if you're going to do something, you stay quiet about it, and you just go about your business. Don't preach to people, oh, you should stop drinking, I don't want to. I fucking love a pint. Shut up. I'm not interested. I know when I shouldn't have a drink and when I know I should. But I think it's really important when you're in them times to remain very humble.
Yes.
Very solitary. Don't preach about it. And just go about your business quietly. And the next thing you know, 3 or 4 months might pass. If you have a glass of wine with some nice food, so what?
I've definitely gone down that route, Matt. I've been preachy when I came out the other side.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Done it. I've been there.
Definitely.
And you've got to that's what I mean, back to an extreme. I did during COVID, and I was a complete nightmare to everyone. So I had my opinions about it. I was a pain in the arse about it. Well, I should have just said, this is my position. And if people want to find out more about that, just come to me. But I think all I wanted was to be respected for my choices. But not even respected, just, like, it's my body, my choice, that kind of thing. And I respect that about other people and so on.
It was a triggering time for all of us, I think, COVID, and it brought out the worst and the best in people. But humility is massive. I got to a point last year where the only people that, I wouldn't call it preaching, but it turned into a form of desperation with certain individuals in my life who I was really trying to help. And you just end up draining yourself. And I've realised that silence is so powerful. You have to just do you and just try and have compassion for everyone. And it's so hard when you see someone destroying their life. But
that goes back to energy, right?
It does. You're so right.
If you are an empath and you're helping people, and you've got your beacon wide open, their dark energy is just sucking the living life out of you, and they aren't aware of it.
No, they're not.
And it all
totally unaware.
It all goes back to that that energy around just, and when you feel drained, because they're sucking the living life out of you, because they take, give nothing back. Say, thanks for supporting me for the past 2 hours, and actually you go home the worst.
I don't even get thanks.
Well, no, because
I've had some twats around me.
No, but because their energy doesn't want to say thank you. Their energy is selfish.
And the identity thing about unconscious is that some people will actually receive benefits for having sort of like basically needing support all the time. It actually brings attention, or it brings a feeling of purpose for them. So that becomes part of their identity.
It really does.
And that's a huge problem as well, isn't it? So it is so much about taking what's going on in the unconscious. People seeing themselves, seeing their own behaviours, literally, and then bringing it into the conscious and deciding to do something about it. Yours is books, man. It's definitely like books, and they call it psychoeducation, don't they? I think like sort of becoming aware of what it is that drives you, what inspires your decisions, and then understanding the whole. Well, you mentioned about losing friends. I've been in that place twice over. Cancelled social media once. That extreme closed everything. You'll be back. They were right. Of course, I'll be back. But it's just having, and then what you do, you find more of a balance with it. So that's kind of the way that goes. There was a bit of research came out in 2020, which was a large-scale experiment on New Year's resolutions. And what it found is approach-orientated goals are more successful than avoidance-orientated goals. Yeah. Which actually ties into the neuro-linguistic programming we were chatting to Alan Johnson about. Is like he would always say, like for a woman to lose weight, they'll often focus on how much weight they want to lose, which is effective. Or I want to quit chocolate. I want to eat less sugar. And actually, all the brain goes in its Google searches. It looks for chocolate or crap food everywhere. It just suddenly goes, oh, you're interested in chocolate, right? I'll look at it. I'll notice it everywhere it is. Yeah. Where the more positive way it says, I want to go for a size 12. Now my wife at the moment wants to get in a bit, and I was like, why do you want to do it? And she said, well, I want to be able to run lighter. And I was like, so don't think about losing weight. Just keep telling yourself, if you're heading the right direction, you're to running lighter. That's what you want to do. You want to run lighter. And I just thought it was much, and you could see that in the conversation, it was a much more positive way to frame it.
It's all about how you're feeling, isn't it? I mean, I'm trying to lose a bit of clem at the minute, but
bit of what?
Bit of clem. But what I've learned is it's how you're feeling within yourself. So if I don't have a drink for a week or so, I feel a lot better. Right. And it's not about sometimes what weight you want to lose. It's that, actually I do feel a lot better and I feel better within myself. Yeah. Again, it goes to energy, and
this is it. So this is
your own being rather than...
This is why I personally I don't have an issue with antidepressants, but I just think the understanding of what they do is important, because effectively it treats the brain like a chemical factory. It ups your, we talked about dopamine, didn't we, and so on. It's actually changing something and putting you in a place which is probably unnatural. Yeah. In terms
serotonin,
of serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Yeah. So, but it's actually putting you in a place where at some point you're going to have a deficit of those things, probably. Yeah. And so and the argument is that obviously you could psychoeducate someone, you can give them all sorts of different strategies that will then be in place when you start to reduce the load. Yeah. However, I supported a woman recently who had been on antidepressants for 24 years and hadn't been checked in for over a decade about that. So anyway, as I understand it, she was down to a quarter dose after 4 weeks after we chatted, and she's doing amazing. Story. But it is really fantastic with this habit thing. So I think the main thing to take from this is about conscious, bringing it into your conscious and making some decisions that are actually going to reward you for those positive decisions that you make as well. Is that fair to say?
It's understanding you can't break a habit.
Right.
Once it's there, the neural pathway is created, so the approach base is much better. I'm not a fan of weight loss. I'm not a fan of dry January. I think anything that's been initiated by the mainstream media or marketing, don't get behind it. January is the worst time to create any kind of new habit, because we're in hibernation mode. 88% of the world's population is in the northern hemisphere. We're in cold temperatures. The body wants to eat comfort food, stay indoors. We don't want to go out to the gym or lose some weight.
Don't be hard on yourself.
No, don't be hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Yeah. If you want a glass of wine, if you've had a hard day, it might not be bad for you, it might not be good for you in the long term. But just do it and wait till the sun starts coming up a little bit earlier. In spring equinox, that's the natural new year. That's when you want to start planting your seeds for the year ahead.
What do you currently do? What do you find really works well for you then in your own life, for your own mental strength?
Here we go. Well, because I'm just working fully on myself at the minute, for myself, my 20-minute routine, which I used to do before work, has now expanded to about 3 hours. So I'm throwing myself into the deep end. I've started embracing energy work, which is next level game changing. I'm going to do a course on it.
Good stuff.
Breath work for me is like next level. Breath work's everything, because it can instantly regulate your nervous system and pull you out of that parasympathetic state when you're dysregulated, and it's massive.
Do you meditate with that as well then?
Yeah, my meditation has shifted a lot because I've started manifesting and visualising and going back to all of the old metaphysical stuff. It's important to point out as well for anyone listening to this who is maybe a little bit kind of, it's woo-woo. Check out Nassim Haramein. He is a very, very well-respected quantum physicist who talks about the difference between science and spirituality. And spirituality is merely just science. We haven't found an equation for yet.
Right.
They are two sides of the same coin. And when you start throwing yourself in at the deep end, it's fascinating, this stuff. It really is. And you can literally create magic with it. So, yeah, I do all my basic stuff. Rehydrate. Movement is key. Absolutely key. You've got to do some kind of movement in the morning. Breath work. These are all the basics. And my sleep is key. I go to bed at 8 o'clock at the moment because I'm about to be a grandma in March.
All right.
Can you believe it? Oh, it's stopped recording now. I can't do it. Battery's gone dead. But yeah, I can't believe I'm about to be a grandma. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a shock to the system. So I'm getting in nano mode.
I don't know what to say, congratulations or commiserations. To be
Yeah,
honest,
well, it's...
Congratulations, obviously. Yeah. But
Yeah, it's
all the fun
congratulations.
without
I'm
any of
sorry,
the,
Tash, if you listen to this. But no, she's going to be amazing, and she's absolutely astounded me. But yeah, it's just all about getting those basic needs met, and nutrition all the way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what would be your number one tip for mental strength for other people then? And I suppose this makes probably something around habits, I would guess, is it?
I would say sleep is the biggest thing. It's very challenging to navigate, but that is like putting in your mobile phone each night to charge up. You have to be on 100% battery, because the more brain battery you have, the more decisions you get to make the next day. And every decision that you make depletes a little bit of your brain battery.
Yeah.
And as soon as your brain battery is depleted, you are going to fall back on all of the old unconscious patterns of behaviour, which are usually addictive of some kind.
So that's that's
sleep.
a huge factor in making better decisions.
Yeah, it's 1/3 of your energy cycle, your rejuvenation
Okay.
piece. If you get that right, you're 1/3 of the way there to becoming healthy.
We want to get a sleep specialist on at some point and have a really good natter about it. They used to have a sleep department specialist at James Cook, but they got rid of that after a while.
Dear.
But they were phenomenal. Like the sleep consultant was off the chart. Right, I'm gonna post a link actually for a resource I found online about sleep, where you can do it. You can find out what your sleep animal is. Apparently, I'm a bear.
Oh,
I'm just a fucking
I'm
nightmare.
a lion now.
You're a lion.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, Matt's a fucking nightmare. I'm not sure it's an actual animal. If it was an animal,
honestly.
It's bear, lion,
horrendous.
dolphin, or wolf, isn't it?
wolf. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Dr.
Settle
down.
Michael Bruce's research. That.
Yeah. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
I want to know what I am.
So
You want to know what you
I
are?
want to know what I am, yeah.
I'll send you the
Do you
link.
bounce out?
He's a beast in bed.
Do you bounce out of bed in the morning? Come on, guys, let's
Excuse
keep
me.
it clean. There's a lady present.
A dolphin I'd like to be.
Dolphins are a little bit all over the place with their sleep pattern.
That's
they
me.
tend to.
It's me.
Are you?
Terrible.
Oh,
Have you two launched that OnlyFans channel?
I'm not asking.
He's behind the camera.
I don't even know what OnlyFans is.
Matt does.
It's probably a good thing.
I do kind of know what it is,
His
but
face.
I'm not down with the kids at all.
Dark.
And stuff like, yeah,
Dark.
it's all
Dark.
dark. It's all
It is
dark.
dark. No, it is dark.
Horrible.
Very last thing, just a minute or two. 2020
Yes,
program.
2020.
So last year, you came to us in my professional job in the South East Wellbeing Network to say, can we help promote this Innovate UK funded piece of research?
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and then tell us about the offering.
So
For 20 men, I think, in 2020.
Yeah, Innovate started out, there was a piece of software which I've now got a minimum viable product for, which retrains your subconscious mind. That is somewhere in the offing once I get some funding. If anyone is looking for investing in a philanthropic cause, get in touch with me. But as part of that, there was also a 4-week program that we took people on through the workplace. It was a range of videos no longer than 20 minutes a day, which focused around health and well-being, optimising your sleep, getting a morning routine in place, getting an evening routine in place. The feedback was phenomenal. I had people who'd been, clinically depressed for 30 plus years. They thought they knew everything there was to know about mental health, and they were coming to me saying, you've completely reframed my view on this, and I'm now seeing health as my first wealth. I'm really placing a higher priority on certain things like nutrition. And it was really, really positive. So I'm hoping to run this again. I don't have the Innovate funding behind me, but I'm still going to do it for free with workplaces. So anyone listening to this, reach out to me. But also, we're hoping we can do a 2020 approach with the Every Man Can kick as well. So
I think you and I need to have a chat and try and get those 20 blokes recruited.
Yeah, definitely.
There might be one or two of us that might jump on that as well. I think it sounds phenomenal. So as we form up the kick, that's going to be happening over the next 4 weeks, and we'll be able to share more of that through the pod in the future. And obviously, when we do get that up and running, we'll let people know more about it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Brilliant pod.
Thank you, Matt S.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Happy New Year, and we'll see you around.
Happy 2024, guys.
Thank you. Take care now.
Take care.